Hi book babes, my name is Ainsley and welcome to my library. For today's video, I am doing a giant unhaul. You guys, I am so sad to be saying goodbye to some of these books, but it's just like my shelves are getting crazy, man. Like, I have no room. There are so many different reasons as to why I'm giving these books away today, but I just want to clarify that I am going to be donating these books to my local Goodwill, and that is simply because I don't really want to go through the trouble of selling them. And also, while I might not have liked some of these books or want to read some of these books, somebody out there does, and with how insane the economy is right now, I think just allowing them to go to a family who wants to buy books but can't necessarily afford like the brand new first edition ones, I would love to bless them with any book of mine that they happen to pick up, simply because of that's the economy that we're in right now. So yeah. The first book that has like its own private, unique thing is I'm giving away the Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. I love Abby Jimenez. She's one of my top authors, so no, I'm not giving away this book because I never want to read it or because I rated it low. No, simply because my friend and my cousin both gifted this to me for my birthday a couple years ago, and I've just had two floating around my shelf for a while, and it's come to the point where I need more book space and I only need one book. Next up, I'm giving away my off-campus book series. I actually have accidentally already donated my first 4 books, but so I still have the 5th one on my shelf, so this is going. And the reason I am donating those books is simply because I have hit an upgrade, you guys. Oh my gosh. What? And was sprayed hedges too. Oh my gosh. Oh, they're just so excited to be in my house. I'm so excited to have them. As much as I love the off-campus series, and I'm not against having multiple copies of books, I'm truly, seriously not. I just absolutely adored these covers and these versions that I wanted to have them, and I would love another girl or guy out there to get to read the off-campus series because I adore them. They are some of my favorite found family and just college feel-good young adult romances. Young adult, I don't mean like it's YA, I mean like it's about young adults. This stack is all the books that I have not read, and I'm simply getting rid of them because I no longer have a desire to read them. Me and my best friend were talking the other day about how insane book prices have gone up recently, like within the past year, it's been insane. And me and her have been talking about how it took us years to figure out our niche little tropes that we like, our genres that we like, specific authors that we love. And we wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for our library or our financial ability to just keep buying books and just taking a test run. And so I recognize that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to do what I did, which is buy books before reading them. I am extremely blessed to be able to do that and still blessed to be able to do that. So a lot of these books I bought thinking I would read them, and it was just I was buying them because I thought I would like them, and I actually never really got around to reading them. And now that it's been years, I no longer have the desire to read these books, and so I don't really want to force myself to read them, and I would much rather have another person who is trying to find their place in the book realm to just be able to buy these books at an affordable price and just have at it, just dive into some good books. I also bought a good majority of these books simply because I had just started my Bookstagram account, and I noticed that a lot of people that were popular on Bookstagram, their shelves were full, and this was like 7 years ago, so obviously my shelves were not as filled as they are right now. And so I felt a lot of pressure to buy books, and not only buy books, but buy popular books. So my first year of being in the book community, social media wise, I bought so many books simply because they were popular and simply because I found them cheap and affordable, and they were just a book that I could put on my shelf to make it look like I actually loved reading. Like, I genuinely thought if you didn't have a full shelf, you didn't love reading. And so I spent so much money on books, and I ended up never reading them, never having a desire to read them. I just simply bought them to make other people think I loved reading, which I feel like my love of reading spoke for itself, but whatever. But so I'm just kind of gonna hold them up, tell you the title and the author. I'm not really gonna go into what the book's about. We have way too many books to get through right now. So I'm kind of just gonna quickly hold it up, read it to you, and if it's a special book or a special reason, I'll tell you about it. First up, we have Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page. Next is Everything Beautiful Is Not Ruined, and this is by Danielle Young Ullman. This book I bought on, I think, Book Outlet or something, super cheap. A lot of these books I bought simply because it was from Book Outlet and it was cheap, and I could shove them on my shelf. I'm Not Dying With You Tonight by Kimberly Jones and Gilly Siegel. Darkness Before Dawn by Sharon M. Draper. I've read so many books by Sharon M. Draper and I love her writing style. This book I accidentally bought. It's the third book in a series, and now growing up I no longer have the desire to buy the first and second books that I'm able to read this book, so it has to go. The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This is one of the popular books that I bought simply because I wanted to seem like I knew what was going on. I have no desire to read a historical fiction book. I'm sorry. Matched by Ali Condi, another popular pick. The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid. No idea why I bought this book. I have no idea how it came about to be on the shelf. This does not seem like something I would have ever read. What was I thinking? I don't know. Dear Evan Hansen. This book was actually a DNF. I really, really wanted to like it. And I couldn't get past the first 2 chapters. I tried and tried and tried. Couldn't do it, so DNF. After by Anna Todd. I originally really wanted to get into this book series because it was super popular and the movies had just come out and I was just starting in my bookstagram, so I felt like this was the types of books that I was supposed to be reading at that time. However, since then I have endured an extremely toxic relationship, and the last thing I want to do is read a book that, from my peers, this book appears to glorify that toxicity in a relationship, and I am not for that considering what I've endured. So it's just, it's a no. In Search of Us by Ava Delara. I'll Never Tell by Abigail Haas. How to Hang a Witch by Abigail Mather. Adriana Mather. Oopsies. As You Wish by Chelsea Sadati. See Me by Nicholas Sparks. For these next set of books, I will probably be going into a little bit more detail as to why I am unhauling them, simply because this stack of books are books that I have read and unfortunately have not loved, and I just don't really see a point in keeping them on my shelves if I didn't like reading them. I strongly believe that just because a book is not for me doesn't mean the book isn't for somebody, so I really truly am praying that whoever ends up buying these books ends up loving them the way that I wasn't able to. Because every book and every author is deserving of love. I wholeheartedly believe that. Whether I'm the one to give that love or not is up to the book. First up is The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. As a Christian, I was not able to read a book about the Antichrist. I'm so sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry at all. No, no thank you. Never thank you. And I actually debated on if I wanted to give this book away or keep it, or I don't know. I don't really want people to be reading books about the Antichrist. That just doesn't, it's not really what I want to do, but I also don't really want to keep the book in my house anymore. So we're going to put that away. Have You Ruined My Life by Jeff Strand. The characters in this book were really, really good, but for it trying to be a comedic relief, it wasn't funny at all. And I actually found myself to be extremely annoyed. Seti and Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. Cool name. This book was good. My only thing is that I listened to the audiobook, and for the main character being British, the narrator should not have been speaking in an American accent. I'm just saying, that totally threw me off. Really, I didn't really know enough about Sherlock Holmes to read this book, so if you're going to read this book, I recommend that you know enough about Sherlock Holmes to get you through it. But seeing as I grew up on Nancy Drew, this book just wasn't for me. But I've heard so many great things about this book, and that's ultimately why I picked it up. But wasn't for me. Next up is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. I did not enjoy the plot, and the main character was honestly kind of insufferable, and the whole idea of getting married and then falling in love, I don't like that. Next is But Then I Came Back. For my 18th birthday, I was gifted a book subscription, and this is one of the books that came in that subscription. However, this is the third book in a series, so the whole time I was reading this book, I was just heavily confused. I also wasn't really a big fan of the characters or the plot, so therefore my motivation to read the first and second book were not piqued at all. Next is The Insomniacs and My Last Kiss. I read both of these, and the reason I bought both of these was because they were on the Books A Million discount section. I ended up reading them just to get another book in at the end of the year, I think. Wasn't a big fan of either of them, so. Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Mary Simple. This book was literally, it says one of the best books of the year. I wholeheartedly thought that. I was so excited to go into this book. My expectations were so flippin' high. I book read this with a friend. I literally loved it. We both ended up DNFing it because the way that the book was written, the writing style was not for me. I wholeheartedly believe if this book was written in a different way, I would have loved it. But because of the format that Maria chose, we weren't clicking, and that's okay. But again, so many great things I've heard about this book. So I hope that somebody who buys this ends up loving it. Oh, I hope I don't get hated on for this next one because it is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstein. I am so sorry. Not really. I wish I was sorry. This is literally one of the first 3 books that I read whenever I started my Bookstagram simply because of how popular it was. I was bored. I rushed through it simply because I wanted it to be over. I was so bored. Next is Girl Crushed. Don't even want to talk about it. We're just going to skip it. Lessons in Chemistry. I know that this was like a top read for everybody and everybody has given it 5 stars. The Talking Dog, can't do it. No thank you. Literally no thank you. Again, the writing style for this book was not a fan. I also was kind of really annoyed by the main character. So yeah, I DNF'd this book at like 30%. Orphan Monster Spy by Matt Colleen. I also DNF'd this book. This book was so hyped up and everybody was just promoting this book and I so wanted to read it. And whenever it came time for me to read it, I was just ultimately extremely let down. Next is Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. Boring. Boring. Next is The Golden Couple. If you're going to write a book about a couple, please don't make them boring. Please. They were so boring and so insufferable. I couldn't do it. Vladimir, goodbye. Get off my shelf. Normally I'm not that bitter or mean about books and I'm able to be like, I didn't like this book, but here was the one positive part about it. I'm usually so good at pulling out the positive parts and like highlighting that aspect of every single book. But I genuinely cannot find a single positive part about this book. Genuinely, I cannot do it. Well guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for joining me and watching me unhaul all of these books. I am so sad to see most of them go. Not this one. But truth be told, I am really sad to see some of these books go, especially the ones that I've read. While I did not enjoy my reading experience reading them, I still read them and it was still an experience and a journey for me. So it's definitely sad for me to have to say goodbye to some of them. I hope that this is the last unhaul video I have to make for quite some time because saying goodbye to books is extremely difficult for me. But if you've ever done an unhaul or if you do this like on a regular basis, comment down below how the heck your emotional stability is okay after this, because I feel like I'm gonna be like an emotional wreck sometimes. I'm saying goodbye to some of my babies. My babies are leaving. Anyways, if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a like down below. Also, please subscribe. I would love to see you guys here every single Thursday. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next Thursday. Bye.